Okay, well, wanted to welcome everybody tonight for the first part of our kind of cancer prevention and survivorship series that we're doing, an online education series. We'll be meeting every Tuesday in the month of February from 6 to 7 p.m. So if anybody wants to join in on the other topics, like next week, Nicole, our speaker tonight, is going to be talking about cooking, nutritious cooking. And then we have somebody the third week talking about mind, body, exercise, and then fourth week, emotional health. So welcome anybody to join us for that. I'm Christina. I'm the social worker and support group facilitator with Complementary Cancer Care. And for anybody that doesn't know us, we provide all kinds of support services, including exercise classes and art programs, education and support groups for anybody dealing with cancer. So patients, survivors, and caregivers doing like in any phase of treatment or recovery for any type of cancer. But tonight we're joined by Nicole Santapola. Am I pronouncing correctly?
You are.
All right, she's with Orlando Health and she was kind enough to join us. So I'm just gonna give her the platform and she's sharing her screen.
All right. Well, thank you, Christina, and thanks for inviting me. I have been out to Brevard County several times for a support group that's held out there in a church. I think that's how you guys heard of me. So Karen Pensa is the person that referred me, and I'm very grateful. I love to talk about this stuff. This has been a passion of mine for a very long time. When I was injured back in 2006, medical science could not help me running half marathons and eating, I thought, low carb, high protein diet, and I just had a divorce. So I was very emotional, a lot of anger, and I just had a lot of pain. So I really didn't know what to do about it. And I went to a lot of doctors and they couldn't really help me. So I went on this journey of holistic healthcare. And really part of the journey is that you're not just a body, you're a mind and a spirit. And I found out that I have a lot of things going on that weren't just about food, but food became my passion. And tonight I hope to share with you some of my experience. I have a lot of experience in education in holistic nutrition, so I'm not a dietitian. I don't talk calories. I talk about food as medicine. And that's really what I want to impart some things tonight on, really basics of how to eat more good for your body. So again, I'm with Orlando Health. I've been there 20 years. The last 10 have been the program manager for cancer prevention and health education. And I'm happy to be here tonight with all of you. So I know we may have some questions. You're welcome to just chime in or put them in the chat or talk live, however you feel comfortable. And with Zoom, it always takes a second for this to start. So there we go. Okay. Let's just start really quick with my role. There's a foundation called the American Institute for Cancer Research. And this is where I get a lot of my evidence-based research to share with our community about cancer prevention. And first of all, there's the top 10 recommendations that have pretty much been the same for the last several years. They're emphasizing here really about what you're putting in your body. So I'm going to just kind of go through the top 10 and then let you ask any questions you have about it. But we're going to dive in, and then this is how we're going to talk tonight about what we have to do with our food choices. The first way to prevent cancer is really being at a healthy weight. And they want you to eat more of a plant-based diet. So if you've never heard that term, I'm going to talk a lot about that tonight. But whole foods and plant-based. Most of your plate should be whole foods and plant-based. And we want it to be a variety. The plant-based diet is made up of the next line, which is whole grains, vegetables, fruits, beans, nuts, and seeds, which I've added right here because they don't mention that at all. And that's really important part of a whole foods plant-based diet. So if you choose to eat mostly a plant-based diet, there's a plate here that shows you what that looks like, where a third of the plate is an animal protein. If you choose to eat animal protein, it's only a third of your plate. They want us to limit consumption of fast foods and other processed foods that are high in fat, starch, and sugar, which I'm sure this is not new to you. So again, we just want to limit those kinds of things that come in the middle aisles of our grocery stores. And then limiting consumption of red and processed meat. There is a correlation with colon cancer, red meat, and processed meat. And when we talk about processed meat, we talk about things like hot dogs and all those deli meats. They have nitrates, and those are carcinogenic. So we want to get away from all of that. If we eat red meat, we want to eat leaner cuts, and we want to make them for special occasions, and we want to make them smaller portions. So that's what their recommendation is. Limiting consumption of sugar sweetened drinks. So the Gatorade and all those sweetened drinks from Starbucks, those things you want to limit. And then limiting alcohol consumption. I'm going to show you a slide about that in just a minute because that's a big deal. They talk about breastfeeding your babies if you can, if you're a mother, if you're a new mother, that's really reducing the risk of cancer. If you're a cancer survivor, they want to make sure that you are going through this cancer prevention model. And then also supplements. They say not to use any supplements for cancer prevention. I have a red arrow here, and I have highlighted 3 things that are needed. First of all, vitamin D3, very, very, very important for immunity. So preventing the flu, preventing the COVID virus, we want to make sure our immune system is strong, and most of us are low in vitamin D3. The way to find out is through a blood test from your doctor. Most people need a supplement. You want to make sure you're buying vitamin D3 and you're getting at least 5,000 units a day. But again, you could get toxic levels. So you need to start with a blood level and find out what you need. The other thing is a probiotic. To strengthen our immune systems, we need to have strong gut health, which there's bacteria in there that need to be fed. And we need to have good bacteria in our gut. And most of us, because of stress, processed foods, antibiotics, we really don't have a strong gut. So a probiotic is recommended. Most of us need one daily. And then if you're eating only plants, never having anything animal, no eggs, nothing like that, we recommend B12 for eggs. Yeah, eggs are good. Eggs are good, but if you're not eating any of that, you need B12. So some people that are completely vegan, do need a B12 supplement. So I just put that on there for people to know that. I circled in red at the very bottom, just other things that aren't mentioned here. But part of the cancer prevention world is not smoking and also being careful with your sun. So melanoma is really on the rise, especially in Florida. Okay, so we talked about alcohol. The 3rd leading cause of cancer risk is alcohol. The first one is tobacco, which is really now in vapes and Juuls. It's not even smoking cigarettes. The second one is having excess body weight, which increases the estrogen in your body. And the 3rd is alcohol. And this is a social acceptable form of beverage, but really it is causing cancer. Here it just shows you how many cancers it's a risk for. And the AICR says that they'd rather you not drink at all. But what is a drink? A lot of people don't even know what that means. So I got from the CDC or the FDA, what's considered a drink. It is 12 ounces of beer, 8 ounces of malt liquor, 5 ounces of wine. Sorry, ladies, sometimes we get those big old glasses. And then 1.5 ounces of distilled spirits. You know, a lot of college students I talk to would be like, well, we don't drink all week, but then they binge drink on the weekend. So really, it's just kind of looking at our portions. Men are allowed 2 glasses a day and women 1. So I wanted you to be aware of that. The Harvard School of Public Health put together this health eating plate, which really comes off of the AICR. And it's, again, looking at this visually, what we want to be focusing on. When we look at vegetables, it's the bigger part of our plate, and fruits are smaller. We're in our country, I know we love fruit because it's sweet, but we don't love vegetables. We want to really switch that around. And they talk about here that potatoes, white potatoes and French fries don't count. But in our culture, what do we typically eat? French fries and hamburgers, steak and potatoes. That's kind of what we do. So we want to get color. Plenty of fruit, all different colors. We talk about what to drink here. It talks about limiting milk and dairy. And the reason being is milk and dairy have a lot of saturated fat. So we were trying to limit that by drinking more water and herbal teas. Whole grains, we're going to go into that a little bit later, but we want to limit refined grains. So the things that say enriched on the package, a lot of our processed foods that are grain-based usually are enriched flours. They actually take all of the nutrients out and you're not getting any fiber. So you want to make sure you're getting a whole grain when you're eating things from that group. Choosing fish, poultry, beans, and nuts as your protein. I like that they put nuts on here because that is a source of protein. But limiting, again, the red meat, the cheese, the bacon, the cold cuts, and processed meats, they want you to avoid. Healthy, yep, I know. Healthy oils, olive oil is a really good oil. We're going to talk more about oils in a little bit. So this is kind of just a little visual for you on what a healthy eating plate looks like. All right. So this is my visual, though, that I like to look at when I'm talking about how to eat more plants. And when we're talking about plants, these are the groups we're talking about. We want to eat things that nature created and man did touch. So again, whole food plant-based diet is eating things in the whole form before somebody started messing with it. So we go to our whole grains. This is a big portion of this plate. And I really feel like this should be smaller. It says a half a cup daily. I really rather you see you eat more vegetables than grain. But grain is a good source for our nervous system. It has protein and fat and fiber. So the grains they're talking about are things like brown rice, not white rice, but brown rice that has the fiber intact. Barley and oats, rolled oats are really great. Quinoa is another great grain that's small. It takes a really quick time to cook. And even things like whole grain pasta. So those are the grains we're talking about. Beans and legumes are things like beans, soybeans. Well, we'll talk about soy in a minute. That's another conversation. But how about chickpeas, navy beans, cannellini beans, black beans, kidney beans, pinto beans, lentils. There's a million lentils out there that are really easy to cook. Peas, growing up, they were a starchy vegetable to me. I was told not to eat peas, right? Well, peas are part of the plant-based plate. They're really good for you. So peas are a great protein source. Yeah, go ahead.
Is that more like the chickpeas, like the garbanzo beans, than green peas?
Yeah, green peas. Yeah.
Because I'm not a diabetic, but I have to follow a diabetic diet. Okay. And peas are one thing that I don't eat much. Okay. Peas and carrots are a lot of sugar.
Okay. Yeah, me neither. Yep. See, so that's, everybody has a different way that they teach eating. So we're going to talk about that too, but yes. The other thing I want to point out is whole soy foods. So that's a part of the plant-based program that is acceptable, even in people that have had breast cancer. It is a phytoestrogen, so it's a estrogen that comes from a plant. It is not just messing with your hormones, but there is some controversy. Some doctors want you to stay away from it completely. The evidence that I have seen through AICR and other people say that whole soy foods are okay. When we talk about whole soy, though, we talk about a organic soy that has that is either tempeh or tofu or edamame or miso or soy milk. Those are the soys that we're talking about. There's a lot of soys out there that are not healthy. We talked about fruit. I highlighted berries daily because berries are full of antioxidants for cancer prevention, and they're very low in sugar. Cranberries, strawberries, blackberries, blueberries, they're all great. Nuts and seeds are controversial with those of people that were trying to lose weight, but nuts and seeds for the whole plant-based groups are very important because they are full of fiber and healthy fats. And we need healthy fats for our brain and for our hormones. So these are everything from almonds to walnuts to pecans, pistachios, cashews, and then seeds like chia seeds and flax seeds and sunflower seeds, hemp seeds. Those are all good. One thing I wanted to say that I love to tell people, and I don't know if you may know this, but peanuts are not a nut. Peanuts are a bean. They're a legume. They come from the ground. I don't recommend a lot of people eating a lot of peanuts because they're high in mold, because they're sitting in a pod in the ground, and they have pesticides sprayed over them. So
but they're great in protein.
They are.
I have to eat a lot of peanut butter because I have to eat a lot of protein.
Okay.
Yeah, well, other nuts, not complete protein.
Pardon me?
That's actually not complete protein.
What?
Peanuts? Well, like peanuts and
peanut butter
thing. I mean, you're missing some amino acids out of that make it not form a complete protein.
Right, right. But again, just all nut butters have protein. All nuts and seeds have protein.
Yeah,
they have the same amount.
That's kind of misleading, though. I mean, if you say I'm going to eat protein, I'm going to eat peanut butter for my protein, or nuts or whatever 3 times a day, you're still missing. You're getting pretty much zero of a couple different amino acids.
Right, and we're going to talk about that in just a minute. So hold that thought because there's more about protein in a minute. I know what you're saying. And then vegetables, we want you to eat a lot of them. And I have here variety, more than 5 servings a day, and really focusing on at least getting a dark leafy green in once a day, like a kale or spinach, collards, mustard greens. And then your cruciferous vegetables are really good for cancer prevention. All your vegetables are, but cruciferous are the top-notch people. The cauliflower, the broccoli, bok choy, those guys, they're really good for you. Brussels sprouts, but all of them are good. I'm just highlighting those for the sake of what I have to tell you in a minute. I also want to focus that all these plants have fiber. Every plant group has fiber. So what is the daily recommended amount of fiber that we need as women? We need 25 grams a day, and men need 38. Can you imagine what the average, can you guys guess what the average that we're eating currently a day is?
8 to 10.
5.
What'd you say?
8 to 10.
Maybe 5.
5. Well, a little bit more than that. 15. 5 times 3.
Oh, that's pretty good.
It's not preventing colon cancer, so it's not good enough.
No.
Colon cancer is the third leading cause of cancer death and the most avoidable, and more younger people are getting diagnosed with it. And a big part of it is we're not eating a lot of plants. We're eating a lot of standard American processed food from meat and dairy. Meat and dairy has no fiber. So when people are eating that kind of diet, they're not getting in anything that's fibrous. So it's very important that we eat more plants, all of those plant groups I just showed you. Okay, so other than the health benefits of reducing our cancer risk, eating more plants helps us lose weight. I'll tell you about that in a little while, but it also is great for heart, making sure you have good cardiac, good heart condition, good heart health. So it keeps your cholesterols down. It actually helps reduce inflammatory markers in the body. And it also keeps you from having a high blood sugars and going off the mark with feeling hungry all the time. It actually can reverse type 2 diabetes. When you eat a whole food plant-based diet, it reverses type 2 diabetes. And there is evidence. Forks Over Knives is an excellent documentary. If you've never seen it, there's evidence out there that you can turn your diabetes around by eating plant-based diet. So we talked about fiber a little bit. Fiber is in all the plant groups. Soluble and insoluble fiber helps you have regular bowel movements. And that is so important because what happens is toxins and carcinogens float around in the body. If they're not coming out daily, you're not eliminating them, then guess what happens? You need to have more fiber in the body so that you have daily elimination. It also, as I mentioned, keeps your blood sugar stable. It helps reduce cholesterol, all those things. It's just great for your heart. It helps you lose weight. It helps you feel satiated. You're not craving food all day long. And plants are also really important because the plant foods that I just showed you have antioxidants. When you put a nail outside and it starts to rust, or you see an apple that you've cut on the counter and it starts to brown, that's called oxidation. So what's happening to your cell is it's oxidizing over time, which is why we age. Part of why we age. Our cells are getting damaged from environmental factors. By preventing that from happening, we need to eat more plants. We need to eat more fruits and vegetables, whole grains, things like that. It helps prevent oxidation, and that's what we're looking for. So we need more plants. And our fruit and vegetables have vitamins and minerals. They're so important, not to get them in a pill, but to get them from the actual food. Right. So we need to get our minerals from the soil, which is where the vegetables get those from, and our vitamins come mostly from our fruit, and we need all of it. All right, so this is the calorie density little thing I wanted to show you. But when you eat 500 calories of fruit and vegetables, it fills your stomach up. And you've had a lot of volume of food, but yet it's low calorie. Yet when you eat some oil or cheese or even some meat, you're getting 500 calories, but you're not full. And this is how people tend to lose weight when they eat a whole foods plant-based diet or eat more of it. So this is really what we're looking for. We're looking for nutrient density, not calorie density, which is why I don't count calories when I eat whole food plant-based diet, because I'm eating nutrients and I get full. Here's a great plate to share with you that this is what it looks like real time. Doesn't that look like a lot of food? I mean, the whole plate is full, right? But that's not going to be calorie dense. It's got to be nutrient dense. And what I like to stress here is that our vegetables are cooked a little bit differently. So I think we have some raw vegetables. We have maybe some pickled. We have some sauteed. We have some steamed. That's what we're trying to do with our plants, is also get a variety of cooking methods, because each brings out different vitamins in the food. You want to get your fat soluble vitamins going with the vitamins with oils and fats. That's how you absorb them better. And you don't want to eliminate vitamins from water. So when you steam them, you don't want them steamed inside water. You want to keep that separate so you don't lose all those vitamins. And this looks like a lentil meatloaf or something of that nature. So it's really quite delicious. It probably doesn't look very good if you don't eat this way, but it's actually very tasty. So you may have heard these terms. I just want to throw them on the slide because back in the day when I became more vegetarian or vegan, that's the terms. And it was like, what does that mean? But But some people just like to have a label, or we talk about this so we know how we can feed them if they're coming to our house for dinner. Like, are you vegan? Vegan means we don't eat anything from an animal, but vegetarians can be all kinds. Where I think all of us are hanging out these days, and where I want us all to hang out, is right here where it's called a flexitarian, or maybe we're having smaller amounts of animal foods, but we're having a lot more plant foods, because that's really, bottom line, the evidence I'm seeing on everything to prevent chronic disease. And one size doesn't fit all. So how I eat isn't going to equal to how you eat, or your sister, or your mother, or your daughter, or your husband. We have to individualize how we eat. Everybody has a different need and a different eating for their body, and even your condition. I mean, back when I started this journey, I was completely vegan. I didn't eat anything from animals. But over time, I've changed what I've needed because I need different things. Now I'm, I'm perimenopausal, and I need other things now. So you have to continually be looking at what your needs are and really getting connected to how food makes you feel. When you eat something, if you immediately start getting congested or having gas or bloating, that food might be causing an allergy to you that maybe for somebody else it's okay. So I think we have to just really be connected to what we're eating, see how it makes us feel, and tailor it to what we need. Here goes back to the plant proteins. There's protein in every plant-based group except for fruit. So when you're eating a variety, and this is why we keep stressing the word variety, we go to nut butter, but that's not all we need to be eating through the day. So if we're eating other things throughout the day that are plants and creating a meal around all of those things, you're getting protein from everything you're eating. Legumes and beans have protein. Nuts and seeds have protein. Whole grains have protein. Vegetables have protein, especially the guys that I mentioned here are called cruciferous. They have the highest amounts of protein. And those are, again,
are they amino acid protein?
It's the same word. Amino acid and protein are the same things.
No, there's a lot of proteins that are not amino acid. Meat has amino acid in it, and a lot of other proteins don't.
I'll have to send you some stuff because amino acid is the same word for protein.
Well, I know it is.
Is one word to say there's a bunch of there's some amino acids, but there's all kind of different proteins. Or I was talking about complete proteins, and you could have a protein that your body can't use any of. So protein is kind of misleading. It's kind of like saying you're getting a B vitamin, but not all the B vitamins are in there.
Right. You want to have complex amino acid. Right. And I can send you stuff to kind of understand this all, because I'm not going to really go that deep tonight. I'm just going to give you the basics. I don't have time for that, but I can send you some more information on amino acids and kind of explain the plant-based groups and really what they have and what they don't. Maybe
my granddaughter is a vegetarian, and we're always worried she's not getting protein because she's not a very good vegetarian. She's not eating a lot of beans.
Well, and protein comes from, again, even quinoa has protein. So that's a whole thing.
Once in a while,
quinoa does have a complete protein. Quinoa and soy do have complete proteins, but the rest of it doesn't.
So, but you need, again, that's why I'm saying you got to have a variety, and you can't just eat one thing. You can't single out plant foods like you do with the standard American diet. It isn't meat.
It's difficult to get methionine from a non-animal plant.
Yeah.
Methionine is an amino acid.
Well, again, we need to probably move on because I only have 20 more minutes, but yeah, I can send you some stuff on that or look at it so we can really understand what you're saying and explain it all. But
some of those charts in the beginning were nice. Didn't you email us those?
Charts in the beginning of my PowerPoint?
The one in the beginning, the round pie chart that had all the different foods in it.
Yeah.
Can you email those or that?
I can send you these slides. I'll send them to Christina and she can forward them to you. Yeah. So one thing I wanted to mention that was back on here was nutritional yeast. Have you guys heard of that? That's another form of protein that comes from a dehydrated yeast. So it's often sugar beet.
Yeah.
Okay. It's not a yeast it's not like brewer's yeast. It's not that kind of yeast.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So if you're coming with me to cook next week, we're going to show you this and kind of talk more about it. But when people eat mostly plants, they do a lot of other culinary seasonings in their repertoire to help boost up different things that they need. For instance, nutritional yeast is the only plant source that has B12, and it does have protein in it. So it's something that we will kind of dive into next week. To make a meal though, when you eat plants, to make a meal, you need these three things. And even when you eat a snack like an apple, I would recommend that you have these three things. The reason why is to keep your blood sugar stable and to make sure you're getting everything you need. So I told you what proteins were based on the plant-based model that I have. Everything but fruit has protein. We're not going to talk about amino acids right now. We're just going to say the word protein, just for the time's sake. Everything has fiber, though. Every single plant food has fiber. And then fat is another thing we need to have in our body. So what are the healthy fats that we go to when we eat more plants, or even just a healthy way to have more fats in our diet? And here are the options that I'm sharing. So oils, nuts, seeds, and olives and avocados. When we look at oils, we want to make sure we're buying things on the market that say extra virgin, which means that they have been preserved with their natural antioxidants. Cold pressed means that no heat was used. And then unrefined means that there was nothing added to it like bleach. So when you're buying your oils, make sure that they say these words. In my education, we promote extra virgin olive oil. We promote avocado oil, grapeseed oil, which are good for high heat cooking, but we don't promote canola oil, vegetable oil, safflower, sunflower, none of those, because they get denatured with heat and they can cause inflammation in the body. So that's what I'm just sharing with you. Coconut oil is one of those controversies. In my education, it's okay. It's a plant saturated fat. But when you're talking to other people, they might tell you that it's absolutely terrible. Again, I don't know your condition. So if you have high cholesterol or heart condition, you may want to stay clear of it. For me, I use it in my baking, but I don't use tons of it. I don't put blobs of it in my coffee. That's not what I'm talking about. Where these keto diet people are all onto this coconut oil fad, and that's not how to eat coconut oil. So that's not what I'm saying. Nuts and seeds are great, but we want to make sure we're buying them raw or lightly roasted. We don't want to add all these salts to it and sugars and things like that. And we're looking for in our diet to keep inflammation down. So we're trying to get essential fatty acids, which are really important for our diet. And those come only in walnuts, flax seeds, hemp seeds, and chia seeds. Essential fatty acids are important omega-3s, and they come from wild-caught fish, fatty fish. But if you're not eating any fish, you can get them from this other method. So would you say that these foods here are healthy? They're not. The reason why I would not recommend people eating a ton of this kind of stuff is because it's considered frankenfood or fake food. All these processed foods that we have on the market that are considered vegan or vegetarian, when you start reading labels, you realize that they're not really good foods. They're full of stuff we've never heard of. And in my education, one of the things I caution people over and over again is soy protein isolate. It's in every food we see here. It's not good. It's not helping people, but yet we buy these bars and these protein powders and we eat these kind of fake foods that we think are vegan or vegetarian. And I just say, those are the soys we want to stay away from. You don't want to mess with soy. So I would just want to share with you that these are things I would have maybe on a special occasion when people don't eat this way and you're trying to get something else that's not a hot dog, but not for normal everyday eating. So how do you get started on plant-based eating? Next week, if you want to join me, we're going to try to make a bunch of recipes in about 45 minutes to get you started. And one of the greatest ways to start eating plant-based is starting with your breakfast. If you don't usually eat this way, breakfast is a great way to do a meatless meal because you can do oatmeal with some walnuts and berries and you're getting all that great stuff in there. You can do fruit and green smoothie where you don't necessarily need to drink milk with that. You can use non-dairy milk or water. Or you can even do a sprouted or whole grain bread with, as you say, peanut butter or nut butter, banana. So you're getting a lot of fiber. You're going to feel full. And it's a great way to start adding something into your meals that you're maybe not used to. And then really shopping and having staples in your home. So the basics, these are some basics. If you've never eaten this way before and you need to throw things together, it was always good to have a can of tomatoes, some quinoa, low or no sodium beans, canned beans, as we talked about. Even dried beans are great, like dried lentils. There's whole grain pastas out there. I like the bean pastas myself, but that's just me, my personal preference. And then, frozen fruits and vegetables are great. So without anything added to them, buying some frozen strawberries or blueberries and green, they even have frozen chopped spinach on the market. Keeping all that in their freezer is just great to add to things that you're cooking or even smoothies. If you've never done this before too, and you're kind of new at this, I go into the browser on my web and I look up vegan recipes or vegetarian recipes, and that's how I find a lot of great websites. Some of my favorites are Minimalist Baker or Eating Bird Food. I like them a lot. Fit Living Eats, she's local. Those are great websites for plant-based eating that I go to a lot. And then I set aside some time, like on a Sunday, for a couple hours, and I will start batch cooking my stuff to get it ready for the week. Because you can freeze cooked beans after you make them. You can freeze whole grains after you make them. If you make a bunch of roasted or steamed or sauteed veggies, they're great all week long to use in different meals. And then we prep food. Once you buy your produce, come home and prep it. Get it ready so that you have it ready. We do a white vinegar and water bath. I can show you next week when I'm preparing vegetables on what you need to do to clean the bacteria off and clean your produce without having to buy anything fancy. That's really important to clean your produce. So my last few slides here, I'm just kind of give you kind of another basic American Institute for Cancer Research and all the evidence that I've seen out there about how to eat is stuff that we probably already know. And this is to minimize that great stuff in the middle aisles because those have oils that have been heated. So they're denatured and causing inflammation. And they're also loaded with sugar and salt and fats. That's how they stay preserved. But going to that a lot is not the best way to eat. If you're going to choose to eat meat, we talk about eating it as a condiment. So it's not the burger that I'm focused on. It's the fact that it should be a condiment on your plate. And that means eating it to be the size of the palm of your hand. Those are the sizes of meat we want. We want it to be the size of the palm of a hand, not both, but one hand. We want to eat meat and fish that are in the wild the way they're supposed to be. So wild caught fish is really important. That way it wasn't fed corn. And grass-fed beef is important because it's eating the grass, which gives us nutrients. Chickens that are free range is very important. So when you're reading labels and buying your meat, you want to make sure that you're eating things that are natural. The last thing here is sugar, which you probably heard before, that there's sugar in a lot of things, yogurts and sauces and our packaged foods. You want to minimize sugar in the diet. And I'm going to show you a slide on that in just a minute. And then looking for this label is really a great way to kind of find out your bread and things that you're buying that are of whole grain, making sure that this label's on it, or in the labels, when you look at the ingredients, it should say the word whole and then the grain. If it doesn't, it's not a whole grain product. So these are the recommended allowances for added sugar in the diet, added. So there's now food labels that show you on their packaged foods what's added. They have to actually show that now when you look at your serving sizes of packaged food. And we, for women, only are allowed 6 teaspoons a day or 100 calories. That goes fast. If you're eating stuff, I know for me, if I have a hot cocoa or something, or you go to Starbucks, you probably already had your day's worth of sugar. And men get a little bit more, which they're lucky. But what is the average we're eating in America on a daily basis? About 77 grams. And that's again, because it goes back to we're having all this fun, junk food and our Coca-Cola and our Starbucks and, whatever else we're eating. And I'm guilty. I mean, I'm not perfect at my eating, but I like to be aware. And I think that's where you start reading the label and being aware. And that's really the first step. And then we just start working on it. That's all. There's no perfection. We just work on it every day. So again, if you have a food farmers market in your area, they're great for making sure you get local produce. I don't know now with COVID, I don't even know if there's farmers markets, but we want you to stress eating more local produce in the store, even looking at where they come from. Florida, I don't think we have a whole lot of great farming here, but if you go to North Carolina, you got a lot of great local farms and you can buy things local in the store. But they traveled less, so they're more nutrients in those items. And then I don't know if you ladies have heard of EWG.org, but I love this website. EWG.org stands for Environmental Working Group. And every year they look at our produce and the farms and they see what was highly pesticide versus what wasn't. So they'll put out every year a new list of the dirty 12 and the clean 12. Basically what that means is if you're concerned about pesticides, perhaps you are immunocompromised, or you're really trying to clean up your diet, you'd want to stick with buying things organic that are on the dirty list. That way you're not spending all your money on organics, but perhaps those things are important to you. For me, I eat a lot of apples. So they're usually on one of the top 5 dirty items in the market, meaning they were sprayed a lot with pesticides. Washing the outside of a conventional item does not get rid of the pesticides. It's already in it. So you really can't get rid of it. So I buy my apples organic. Same with strawberries, which can be very expensive. That's why I buy frozen. Spinach is usually one of our larger crops in the United States, and we do spray it with pesticides. Kale is now on this list, which used to not be. So those guys, if I'm eating a lot of it, I would recommend buying it organic. The rest of it, I don't care about. Bananas and all that kind of stuff with the hard skin doesn't really matter. The great thing about that website too is if you're curious about your chemicals that you're using in your home, perhaps your pesticides or your cleaning products, your makeup and skincare, they have done all the research for you to let you know what they require or recommend that is more natural. Again, there's a whole other conversation about phthalates and all the synthetic things that they're putting into these products that we're being guinea pigs and tested, and then finding out later that maybe they're causing problems. So that's another thing to look at. We talked about, getting your shopping list ready, knowing what you need at the store so that you're not aimlessly buying everything that looks good, because usually that's what happens when we're not prepared. And then, my favorite is cooking at home. And I do a lot of it because I can. A lot of people, I know have busy lives. So we try to teach easy ways to get real good meals in your house and make it quick and convenient. This is a list of, again, if you're looking at trying to eat more plant-based menu ideas and you'd like, well, what kind of things would I eat? What does that look like? I'm giving just some ideas. I don't know if you've seen those little mason jars, like on this slide right here, but you can buy 16-ounce mason jars and put oats in there and overnight with some liquid, and you can have a breakfast in the morning. That's something we'll probably do next week. When you're making your smoothies, you don't want all fruit. You want to make sure like I said, you're getting some fat in there. So, and hemp seeds are high in protein. So we're getting proteins and fats from the nut butter. And that way you're not eating a bunch of fruit that's very high in sugar. Again, mason jars are great for salads and dinner, putting dinners and things like that in here, and that you have stuff ready for you to go. Hummus with celery sticks, apple slices, and almond butter. You can make your own kale chips. The lentil meatloaf I showed you is not hard to make. You can make mashed potatoes with cauliflower and potatoes so that you have more of a cruciferous vegetable in there. Black bean sweet potato chili is delicious. Chocolate pudding with avocados. There's so many ways to get more plants in things, and they still taste good. That's the big one. Does it really taste good? And then these are recipe websites. So in case you want my slides and you're trying to figure out where to begin, I just want to throw a few on here so that you guys have something to go to if you're looking for some new recipes to make at home.
Happy vegan.
Yeah, and then I'm just ending here with where I got my information. I mentioned AICR does have great also recipes on there. Works Over Knives, if you've never been there, they do have a documentary that is getting, has really been out there for quite a while, that started this whole, you can reverse chronic disease with eating more plants. They have doctors in there that really work through a patient story, success story. Anti-Cancer Lifestyle was created by a nurse who had cancer twice, and she was really frustrated that she got it reoccurrence. And so she put this whole module out there. I think it costs some money now to have a one-time fee and have it for the rest of your life. But there's 6, I think, modules going through environmental toxins, mindset, physical activity, food nutrition, so that people that have had cancer or don't want to get cancer can really dig into how to clean up their life and prevent cancer. There's an app you can put on your phone from Dr. Greger. He's got some great videos on the nutrition.org. But he has an app you can put on your phone, and you can click off the fruits and vegetables, the produce you've had, or the, I should say, the plant-based foods you've had for that day. So you kind of see if you're getting the servings you need. It's really a great thing he's created. I mentioned EWG. And then if you're eating seafood, this is a great website that tells you where to get your seafood from, what parts of the ocean. You want to get away from heavy metals and mercury. It's a big deal with some of our fish. So they tell you really what to buy and where to find it. So that is I believe my presentation for tonight. I'm teaching cancer prevention as well, a series just like Christina. We have healthy living classes we teach every month at Orlando Health, and they're web-based at 12:30. So every Wednesday this month, because this is my passion and my job, I am teaching a component to cancer prevention other than food every Wednesday. And then also we are doing plant-based baking in this month. Last month we did a 3 series of cooking, and I'm going to do plant-based baking because I love to bake, from bagels to eating really good healthy treats that taste good. We're going to do that every Thursday in February, except this one coming up. And we're going to do them at 12:30 and 7. They're only 30 minutes. I'm cramming a lot in 30 minutes because people are busy, but I really want to get people to let's try to do this at home. And the only way to do it is cooking, coming alongside and doing it. And since I can't go to anywhere to do it, which I used to love to do, we're going to use this option and we're just going to make it work. And I know Christina has a great program in Brevard County. We have something quite similar here in Orlando that is for anybody in the 5-county area of Orlando, just like hers. It's free. There's a lot of support groups and things we do for our patients and our community. You do not have to be an Orlando Health patient going through cancer to avail yourself to these services. But just like Christina, we have the Tai Chi, we have yoga, it's all virtual now. Tons of support groups. We have art and medicine where we actually can do art from your home. We guide you. So if you know somebody that needs some help or needs some support group or needs something fun to do, we're an extension of what Christina does, and you can join us virtually. We have so many classes to offer. So that's something I just wanted to share as well, that we're gonna share our resources because there's so much need in the community. So with that, hopefully that was somewhat of help, but it's now 6:50, so I can take a few questions if you have anything before
I want to ask you, I have a low blood sugar. And so for 40 years, I've been on a diet that is basically very limited carbohydrates, protein, and fats. And that's my main, and I eat 6 meals a day, and I have breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And in between, I have snack. And then before I go to bed, I eat. And usually what I'm eating is a protein and something to put it on. So I'll have cheese and cracker, peanut butter and cracker. Sometimes I'll just drink juice, but I have almost the total opposite from what you do. I do a lot of dairy, a lot of protein, a lot of and I do very little carbohydrates because that spikes my blood sugar, and then it makes my blood sugar go low, and then that's why I have 6 meals a day and I even out. So for me to do, my endocrinologist, he wonders why my blood sugar is up. I said, because I'm trying to eat more fiber, and fiber is only found mainly in beans. I do beans, I do oatmeal, I do cereal, rather than eating, eggs. I eat eggs a lot. I eat cheese a lot. I drink milk, but I do the skim milk. So I have a hard time with my diet that I have to stick to do something like this. But I do try to do more fiber since I've gotten older, and I do more fiber. I don't eat meat as much. I do seafood more, and I'll do chicken. So I do try to do some of it, but and I do stay away from soy, only because I did have breast cancer, and it's up in the air about that.
Right.
So, but I do like vegetables, and I do eat fruit. So I do try to do some of it, but because of the blood sugar problem, I have to eat more protein and fats than normal.
Okay.
Now I do eat avocados, and I do a lot of the walnuts, and so I'm trying to do better choices with some of the fats than I do olive oil. It's like half olive oil, half butter, the kind of butter I use. So I try to get a little bit of this in there, but it's hard with like I said, with the other. But yeah. This is very good.
Thank you.
Very good presentation.
Thanks. Very good. Well,
my granddaughter would be very good to see this.
Well, that's why I mentioned individualized, because again, your condition, not everybody can eat all of this way, but you have to know what works for you. So absolutely, but just getting quality food is important. So making sure whatever you're buying is quality and of good value. So you're not just, it's all
I try not to buy anything that has more than like 4 or 5 ingredients.
Right. That's excellent. So you're reading the labels. That's so important. I understand. Yeah, I understand completely. Well, thank you, ladies, so much. Anything else?
Thank you so much for.
No, it was a good presentation.
Yeah, you're welcome. Like I said, I'm going to be cooking next week. I don't know who would like to join us, but we will have about 15 minutes to cook next week. I might be able to send you recipes ahead of time so you can cook with me. I'll see, Christina, if that might work.
Sure.
That would be fun. And yeah, if there's any other thing that you guys need, you know where to find me. But you can email Christina. I work at Orlando Health, and so I am Nicole Santapola.
Do you live here? Do you live here in Brevard?
No, I'm in Oviedo, Florida.
Oh, I know where that is. Yeah.
Yeah.
The celery capital.
Yeah, and I've been to Brevard County before for a couple of groups that Karen Pence invited me to. So, and I'm willing to travel, but I know everything.
Well, those Duda people own half of Brevard County.
True. Okay. Well, thank you, Nicole. I'll let you hop off so you can get to your other meeting.
So much, everybody. I hope you have a great night.
Thank